Hi, my name's Hillary Bowman, and I chose to do Pioneers for my thematic unit. And I chose Pioneers because there's many lessons and activities for Pioneers out there. And the activities and lessons tend to be hands-on, and I'm a hands-on person, and I always feel like because you're able to be into the subject and work with it, that you will remember the information more. So I just feel like that the students would be able to learn more about the Pioneers than a subject that would just be everyday learning. The week would start out with a science lesson that would be started on Monday but probably would take for the whole week, and the lesson would be on food preservation and how the pioneers preserved their food to keep it while they were traveling on the trails. And my idea was to take ham and cover it with different types of or different things that might preserve the food, and the students would come up with a hypothesis about how that food would be preserved. So like the ham would be covered in salt, sugar, and water, and there'd be 3 pieces and each one would be different. The students would be responsible for taking digital pictures and drawing and recording data, and then at the end of the week they'd incorporate all their materials into a PowerPoint, and there would need to be one slide for each day that they took data. The second day would be a language arts project, and it would be a comic strip, and each student would build upon what the other students had written, so that it would build the community of the classroom, and it would allow students to work in teams. And then at the end of that comic strip, they would make a podcast of it, and this would incorporate the technology, and it would allow them to use their creativity in a different way. On Wednesday would be a social studies lesson, and it would be on trail stories. So I would read them a story about the travels on the trails, and then they would be for writing a script for a digital story, and the digital story would have to be of a tale of what they've experienced on the Oregon Trail, and what would they bring with them if they only had a limited amount of space, and what are the sights, sounds, and tastes that they would experience while on the Oregon Trail. And they'd be responsible for make all the script and it become a digital story, and the digital story would mostly consist of them speaking about their tale, or if they wanted to, they could have words and a song playing in the background, like a folk song, and the words would pop up and tell the story, and they could use creative liberties for that. Thursday would be a math lesson on the Oregon Trail and calculating the distance of the Oregon Trail in multiple ways, and the students would be paired up based on ability levels. That way students that were struggling could work with students that excel at this type of activity, and the students would find the Oregon Trail in miles and then convert the miles into feet, yards, or I give them options of how they'd want to do it, and they could choose which way that they would do it. And then they'd also calculate the distance across the rivers and how deep they are. That way they could assess the risks that the pioneers had to take when crossing the rivers. And so this would all their information would be compiled, and then they'd make a PowerPoint, and then the PowerPoints would include pictures of the Oregon Trail, pictures of the rivers that they would cross, and then they could, at the end of the lesson, we'd watch them all, and the students could compare their numbers to see if they were close or if they really needed some help in that area of converting the numbers, and they could see what the right answers were. Friday would be a wrap-up lesson, and it would be the students would create a script of what they would want to say about the unit. Did they enjoy it? Did they not? The students would also need to include 3 facts that they had learned from the unit and which part they enjoyed the most. And then once they memorize their script and finalize it, they put it on TeacherTube instead of YouTube, because YouTube's blocked by most schools, and TeacherTube is an educational site that is the exact same thing. And then I would be able to review these and show them to the class, and this would show me where I need to change my unit for the following year That way I can make it more enjoyable for the students and tailored to their needs.